And we're still talking about the Iowa caucuses. Let's take 3, 4, something like that. Let's get into it.
The incarnation of destruction.
Hey guys, memes here. So apparently we're still talking about the Iowa caucuses because even though it occurred this past Monday, we're now on a Wednesday, and apparently we don't have the full results in just yet. As we've seen, it looks like Mayor Pete has a slight edge on Senator Bernie Sanders. I believe they're tied up with delegates, and this is as of about 72% reporting as of 1:12 this afternoon. I captured the screenshot there. Yeah, this is a mess. This is a complete and utter mess. As we learned the other day, President Trump, as many folks expected, won the Republican side very early there. I mean, again, no surprise. But I just wanted to take a quick look at this article brought to us by NPR. And this was written by Pam Fessler. Lessons learned from the Iowa caucuses and danger signs ahead. Just because this whole debacle, it's, okay, we had a new application. Cool, it's going to make things easier. But if it doesn't work, well, we have backup plans and stuff, right? Right? Well, there was a hotline. Well, unfortunately, since the app went down, apparently the hotline was flooded with inquiries and stuff by folks kind of extremely concerned. You got the precinct captains and stuff like that trying to report the results. Apparently, one individual was actually hung up on while they were covering it on live TV. I mean, you don't know. Maybe there was nobody there. Maybe they were on hold for a while. But let's just get into it as well. So, just to start off the article, if the Iowa caucuses were a pop quiz on how well the nation is prepared for the 2020 elections, it looks like almost everyone failed. Or at least that they need to do a lot more remedial work. Probably not an unfair assessment here. I personally have had discussions with folks that actually have worked within the Iowa caucuses before. Rosetta, check out her channel right there. She said she had taken part in these things before. She's been on the ground, and basically what I took away from what she was giving me in her opinion was that, in my opinion, it sounds like there's a lot of secrecy, there's a lot of... I don't like using the word nepotism, but it does appear that a lot of stuff is kind of who you know, perhaps who you've donated to and everything, and to an extent, yeah, that will always happen, but if that was the precursor for what we saw here, this is just terribly unfortunate, and in this case, nobody wins. So let's go on here. The meltdown was extensive. A smartphone app purchased by the Iowa Democratic Party for precincts to use to report caucus votes didn't work as planned. A backup hotline system also failed, leaving party officials scrambling on Tuesday to answer questions and produce results as candidates and the public tried to figure out what was going on. And this is why I typically say that technology is great as long as it works. When it doesn't work, it was one of the most frustrating things in the world. I think we've all been through this before, especially those of us that kind of grew up within the 90s and remember the old AOL and everything and trying to get connected. Somebody picks up the phone. Oh no, it took me like 30 minutes to connect. Oh geez, it's the end of the world. Hopefully we're past most of that, but dial-up is still something that I'm sure is used across the world as well. So this is one of the things. Even as far as we've come, ultimately it seems like we tried to take a couple of steps forward, but instead we ended up taking a few steps back, and now that we're essentially doing a physical hand count as well, because you still would have just your standard results that you would have tabulated and everything. And again, this is a caucus. It's not a primary like in New Hampshire that's coming up next week. Yeah, this produces a lot of concern here. And apparently, caucus chairs in many cases apparently were attempting to download and install the app on their phone on the Caucus night. That's extraordinarily difficult to do that kind of things under pressure. Downloading the app at the last minute is crazy, and that was said by a Mr. Douglas Jones there, a computer scientist, that had warned for weeks maybe it wasn't such a good idea to introduce new technology at such a critical time. Basically, number one, you could run into server load issues. If all of a sudden you're taxing servers that were expected that it had been downloaded over the weeks coming up to this, that's one thing. I don't know when it was specifically released. There does seem to be a lot of closed lips here, a lot of folks just kind of not really knowing what was happening. Plus, if it is something that involves election results, there are going to be multiple layers of security. So if you're going through there, and if one thing is out of place, as we all know from filling out different forms and applications, one of the most frustrating things is you're filling out an entire form, you go to submit it, there's one little thing off, and then you got to redo it again. And at times, if there are security functions, if you don't do it correctly several times, you may get locked out. And again, in my opinion, this is what it's kind of sounding like here. Again, I cannot verify this. We're going to have to wait for more folks to come forward and share their stories about what was actually going on here. Okay, so when things began to go awry, the party was vague for hours about what was causing the delay, leaving public and campaigns confused, frustrated, and even suspicious. The party had promised a new app would mean quicker results, but instead hours dragged on with nothing to report, as we saw from the live stream that we did on Monday night of the Iowa caucuses. We ended at about 2.5 hours, a little after 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we still had 0% reporting. And I mean, that's just a concern, because in previous years, yeah, we had the results as well. So, and again, a lot of the campaigns, they're going out there and they're making their victory speeches and everything. And again, as things stand right now, it does look like Mayor Pete was the dark horse breakout candidate here as well. And again, he's right there with neck and neck with Senator Sanders, followed by Elizabeth Warren, along with former Vice President Joe Biden as well. Apparently, what kind of happened is the actual folks that normally run the elections as a full-time job and everything, from what I've seen within this article, it appears that it was basically the party itself running this. And again, it seems like a great idea. Oh, hey, there's an app for that. Cool, 2020, yeah, but it's just, as somebody that has worked with newly rolled out apps within times that I've worked as a manager for different, like, door-to-door companies and stuff like that, going around knocking on doors, tabulating results. Yeah, it can work and everything, but especially if it's new, oftentimes you have to start to learn how it works. And if there wasn't like a workshop, or even just if it's just a private YouTube video or something, just kind of going over how you can do these things, a Zoom conference or something like that, just kind of detailing how these things are broken up, and just kind of just a play-by-play about how these things work, you can definitely run into issues here. And that's the thing. So, as we've seen before, Nevada said that we will not be using the app, that despite having paid tens of thousands of dollars for it, again, the company that developed it was Shadow Incorporated. Again, since there's a lot of information that we don't have, of course, speculation is running rampant as well. The mimetic of it being developed by a company known as Shadow Incorporated. It's very unfortunate. It's not a good look. And that's the thing. It's just because there is so much running wild about this election. It's a very important start, and unfortunately, it really kind of sounds like a moot point. And this is incredibly sad, because it's the first in the nation caucus, followed by the New Hampshire primary, and these are often used as springboards for candidates to start getting momentum. But just unfortunately, a lot of folks, they've been losing faith in the system, and this just does not help. This just does not help the cause as well. People are questioning the legitimacy. There's different conspiracy theories running rampant. I hear folks saying that, oh, mayor cheat and stuff like that. It's like, I think we're assuming the absolute worst there. And if you're going to make such accusations like that, you're going to need evidence to actually back that up. Aside from maybe they invested in it, money does go everywhere. Could that be something? I don't know. And again, we're going to need more information to kind of really come to different conclusions here. But this right here is what I really wanted to highlight here. The Iowa caucuses are different from primaries and general elections because they're conducted by party officials, not by the people who run elections as a full-time job. But that left a serious gap. Iowa Secretary of State Paul Pate issued a release making clear that his office had no official role in the Iowa caucuses. Federal authorities were in contact throughout the evening with party officials, checking to make sure there were no signs of cyber attack. That's another thing, because if there is foreign influence within elections, if they are trying to manipulate things, we better keep an eye on that and figure that out, because no, you ain't messing with these United States of America. So, but they deferred to the Iowa Democratic Party to tell the public what was going on. Department of Homeland Security officials also said they offered to test the new smartphone app for security flaws in advance of the caucuses, but the Iowa Democratic Party declined. Was it satisfying? No. Was it frustrating? Yes, says Christopher Krebs, who runs the DHS cybersecurity agency that works on election security. But Krebs called the Iowa meltdown a teachable moment, a stark reminder to those running elections that they need to be prepared for every contingency. This is something that I myself and MC were discussing last night in our part 2 of election coverage. Check out MC's channel there. And this is the thing. It's like, okay, you had a plan. Your main plan failed. The backup plan, apparently, you didn't necessarily have the capacity to truly handle those things. And if you're dealing with something like this, it's all I know is in the past we've done these caucuses before, and we could typically get the results the very either later that evening, if not into early the next day. That's the thing. Okay, maybe you have to wait until like 9 a.m. before you have like the full results and stuff like that, because you gotta manually call it in and everything. And that's the thing. I truly think that we could do better, especially if this is run by the party. If the party is running that, wouldn't you have the contact information? Wouldn't you have like official lines of communication? Okay, if you're afraid of people spoofing and stuff, okay, we have Skype and stuff like that. If you have names, faces, don't we have facial recognition software and stuff like that that we could kind of confirm, or just kind of live stream and stuff? And again, I've never worked any of these elections or anything like that. That's the thing. I don't know. But from what I've talked to for folks that have worked within primaries, it is a pain in the butt to do so. You just always have to double check everything. So if someone does a write-in, for instance, you have to go through all this additional paperwork and stuff, and it's a pain in the butt. And that's the thing. Okay, so with all the negative stuff aside, that a lot of folks are kind of writing this off, hopefully we should have the final results by the end of today, because it looks like they're going back and actually counting the paper ballots and everything. Okay, so as Krebs said, one good lesson learned from the Iowa instance is that having paper records of votes, which the caucuses did, is key. If something happens to the technology, he says, those paper ballots are available to count and audit and to reassure the public that the results are accurate. Because that's the thing. You need to have the people believing in you. Because as soon as the folks lose faith in the process, like a lot of folks, they might not like the process, but if you're losing so many millions and millions of Americans' faith in the process, what happens next? Is our republic in jeopardy? A lot of folks feel so, but hopefully we can just start to implement these things. It's okay if the app fails, if the hotlines fail. Okay, what's our third redundancy? Even if it's an older, archaic one, we have the ballots. What's the method for going through by that? So hopefully we're going to learn. Hopefully New Hampshire and the rest of the primaries and caucuses coming up will go a lot smoother. Just wanted to give you all an update on that. And hey, thank you all for watching, and peace out, everybody.